We are back. We are on my laptop now instead of my phone, so the picture quality is not going to be as good. Um, but let's see if it'll stay a better connection on my laptop than on my phone, because I think the last few times that I've done it that have gone well have been mostly on my laptop. I'm not sure. Thank you, Monica. Welcome back also. Let's hope it cooperates for a little while longer. My internet hates me. So, what was I talking about? Insecurities. Yeah. I am classic and want to learn more about it. What have you heard so far, Chandra? Because I'm classic as well. Hi, Carrie. Yes, I'm back. Hopefully staying this time. I hope. So far. I am classic as well. Classic basically, so I've recently heard some other versions of explaining this, but what I've heard classic is where you have the two X chromosomes, instead of one just being damaged, one is completely missing and deleted. And so every cell that's affected, that's the way they're affected. I think the part of it that I've seen a lot of back and forth on that I'm not totally sure about is if it's every cell is affected or if it's certain cells. Because to me, what makes sense is there's a certain number of cells affected. Depending on how many cells are affected, depends on how severe your case is. Again, I have no backing for that. That's just what logically makes sense to me. But basically, classic just means a whole X is deleted instead of just broken and damaged. I mean, you can Google. I don't suggest too much Googling, but to get the basics, you can. You just have to be careful and kind of take what you find with a grain of salt, because it'll tell you statistics that, in my opinion, could use some help. And definitely need interpretation and not just taking them at face value for what they say. You really need to just know what's going on with you. And that requires testing, regular testing. That requires seeing an endocrinologist, which is basically the hormone doctor, endocrine system endocrinologist. They're our specialist. And there's certain recommended tests every year and regular screenings, like an EKG on your heart, a kidney ultrasound at some point. I don't know that I've ever heard more than just one if it's normal. And blood work, testing your thyroid and all of that. HRT if you're the right age. Some little girls do human growth hormone shots that wouldn't apply to you. But yeah, that's interesting that classic, you weren't diagnosed till 16, because that one usually is diagnosed earlier. It's usually mosaic that's diagnosed later. I'm mosaic. When I tell doctors I have Turner's, they're like, no way, can't even tell. Yeah, I mean, it's really not common for anyone outside the medical field to be able to look at me and tell there's something. I've only had twice somebody be able to guess I had Turner's, and it was a nurse and somebody that also had Turner's. So they knew about it. But I mean, just in general, nobody I don't want to know has to know. And I spent most of my life treating it that way. But I think TS should be taught more in schools. I agree. Um, I remember getting really excited when I got to that point in my class and thinking, oh, yeah, I'm going to get to learn a little bit more about what I have. And then there was this 5-minute blurb on, oh, Down syndrome, autism, or not, maybe not autism, but Down syndrome, Turner syndrome, Klinefelters, and that was it. And I was like, okay, that didn't really say much. Um, so I think with what we're learning more and more, I think more should be talked about. I mean, I'm not talking a whole class period on it, but like 10 minutes of this is what it normally looks like and this is what they go through, and this is how common it is. And maybe see if anybody in the class, I don't know, knows anybody. Would that be too much? Because I feel like you wouldn't do that spotlight with Down syndrome. Like you wouldn't say, does anybody know anybody with Down syndrome? But I don't know. I just feel like I do feel like it gets kind of discounted. And I had really hoped to learn more, and I didn't really feel like I learned that much. And at that age, I didn't know that much. I just knew there was something different. So, I was always short, but didn't have the money for a doctor. Yeah, height is one major thing, and if they catch it at an early age, they can give you the HGH shots, human growth hormone shots. But you also kind of have to watch your growth pattern and see how far off you are. It's not something they just broad spectrum say, yeah, everybody needs to have it. They're going to look at your growth pattern and rate and see how far below normal you are or how you compare to what they consider normal. So yeah. Would be cool to attend a conference one year. I would love to go to the conference this next year. I don't know that I can pull it off, but I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. I really, really would love to. My senior year in high school, I did a research paper for an assignment on Turners. That's awesome. I did one of my college ones. I did one of my college papers on Turners. It was really, really cool in my master's program. I think it was the first time I ever did one on Turners, maybe, I think. And we had to compare graphs and the information shown on it and how you would interpret it and what picture those graphs show based on the numbers and how different graphs can depict a different picture, but they're the same numbers, things like that. And all based off of research numbers. And I did one on the effects of growth rate in girls with Turner syndrome over like 3 or 4 years of treatment with human growth hormone. And that was the first time I wrote in my paper how I have this. This is what it's shown on with girls that do need this help. It was really cool. So that was really fun. I appreciated it. I'm 4'6" and no hormones. They probably. You might have been a good candidate for him. But I can't say that for sure without knowing everything else. I would just say they probably would have brought it up. Yeah. But that's still very interesting that they didn't catch it. That's really interesting that you were diagnosed at 16 and not any earlier. My dad served in Vietnam. Back then, doctors warned him about Agent Orange genetic effects on his offspring. Yeah. My mom and dad have brought up, like my dad worked on Air Force bases for years and worked in the, why can't I think of the word? In the wings, in the hangars with all of these chemicals for years. And then this happened. And they don't actually have any research that indicates a specific source um, to know for sure. But I did recently see something about maybe it being connected to the dad and like different ways the dad being affected can bring up that chance and maybe it originates on that side, but I don't know. I have not seen definitive research on that. I would love to learn more. I just know my parents talked about that too, because my dad worked in hangars for years around all of the chemicals. Um, that's so cool. I did an informative speech on Turner's, and the teacher surprisingly had heard of TS before. That really shocked me because not too many people have heard of it before. Yeah, I was surprised that they could tell because normally nobody knows it. But I mean, it was a girl with Turner's and a nurse. So they had that understanding. They knew what that would look like. They knew those symptoms and all of that. Um, the nurse even said she suspected. And she was like, I really suspected you did. But then when you started talking about fostering and adopting and everything, I was like, yeah, I think so. And then I actually, not even her asking, said it. And she was like, yeah, I suspected. So they definitely had a leg up on that. But yeah, I don't have to tell anybody I don't want to tell. Although now I put it on YouTube. So they did mention about growth hormone therapy, but my bone age scan, they decided to not because it was late. Okay. Yeah, I could see that at 16. They usually try to do that. I mean, I know a girl's doing it at like, how old was Lily when Vanessa did it with her? 3 or 4? It was really young. So, yeah. I think I explained all of the test results so far. I don't think we're doing anything else with it. I think it's kind of dropped for now. Because nothing really showed other than it being elevated. So it was like, okay. And it was going down. So I don't have a horseshoe shaped kidney. Yeah, that's the kidney thing they check. I'd have an ultrasound done when I first started seeing an endocrinologist. That was one of the things. And I've never had to have it since. So I think as long as it looks okay, they only do that once. But Monica says, anytime I would tell someone that I have Turner's, they would kind of laugh because of my last name being Turner. That's funny. That's funny. That's a coincidence. Yeah, I never know how to start that conversation. It's always been super awkward. Like I was really like cryptic when I told Andrew. And he was like, okay, but you're okay, right? And I was like, I mean, technically, yeah. He was like, okay, then we're fine. Like, okay. It was the first time I had ever told somebody outside of my family. The doctor hand wrote when I was born, Turner's. I have the horseshoe kidney. Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So, what do they do in that circumstance? Like, is there any medication you're on? Are there certain tests they keep track of? Like, when that's a situation, what's the normal protocol for making sure you're okay? I'm not sure what complications it can bring up. I know it can. I'm sure it can. And your kidneys are super important, but I have no clue what that looks like. I would love to learn more. I have my 4 sisters so far. That's great. It's always nice to know somebody else that has it that you can talk to, that understands. So my pediatrician always told my parents that I would grow, but my parents were concerned and took me to another pediatrician. That pediatrician, I can't talk, suggested that I see an endocrinologist at Children's. Yeah, I mean, we knew, well, you guys know my story. I was diagnosed while my mom was still pregnant. So they knew before I came out and right as soon as I came out that I had it. They already had that confirmed. And they were kind of just scrambling after that to watch me and see what came up and just make sure of everything that can happen. They checked my heart, they checked my awareness, they checked my thyroid, all of that. They watched my growth, and they very closely watched my growth to see if they thought I needed the human growth treatment or not. And I never even fell off the normal. I mean, okay, I say this, I never fell off the normal charts. I still was on the very, very, very bottom of the normal chart. So I was like just hanging on by a thread, but I was there. So because of that, I was pretty okay. I didn't have too much that they did. Yeah. I just told my teachers, and my chemistry teacher knew all about it. Yeah, I would suspect chemistry, health, biology would know about it. I feel like health should somewhat, just especially with there being differences in like hormones and everything. I don't know, maybe not, but chemistry and biology for sure should know about it. So far, just told to monitor any new symptoms. Wouldn't even know I had any kidney issues. Well, that's good. That's really good. I wonder if it's just like kidney function they're worried about. I don't know. That's interesting. All of those things, like what is actually having the heart issue entail? Like, what does that look like? Are you just monitored super frequently? Is there medicine they put you on? I know thyroid is medicine, and I think can be some. No, I was gonna say diet, but I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I know medicine though. Yeah. The hard part is it's all so unique, and it's all based off of this one system that affects like everything. So it can literally manifest itself in so many different ways that it's hard to say what they would have to do. And I feel like even the treatment in some cases is going to look different, just like HRT is different for everybody. I'd imagine the other stuff like the heart issues, horseshoe kidney, all of that could look different for treatments also. It's so interesting to me how varying it is. That's so interesting. When I was diagnosed, they told me I have Turner's and gave me information, then sent me on my way. Never was sat down and explained about it, just sent me and my mom out into the world with nothing. Well, the basis is kind of a lot of testing. And it sounds like they told you you're classic. I would see if you need to be on HRT. I would definitely push for regular appointments with an endo and say, I want a wide variety of tests done. Like I want to know what's going on, and I want to know what this really means. There's height, there's physical development, there's infertility, there's thyroid issues, there's diabetes that can develop, heart problems, kidney problems. So much can happen. It's not all going to. You don't know what's going to happen with you. Each case is very unique, but getting those baseline tests done to see what's going on with you is more important than I can even explain. Getting your heart checked is number one. Number one, make sure your heart is okay. And I think they might have done some level of these. And seeing if you need to be on HRT. And what was the other thing I said, you guys? You had the ultrasound of your kidneys. Your kidneys are good. I mean, getting blood work done to see your fertility, if that's something you care about knowing, that would be something. Premature ovarian failure is a huge thing. So yeah, getting all of that checked to see what your case looks like is most important. There are a lot of possibilities. You don't know for sure what you're facing until you do those. That would be where I would start. I took growth hormones when I was really young, but I don't remember that. But I had to be taken off of it because of me getting really bad leg pains, but went back on it at 13 or 14 until I was 16. Yeah, growing pains suck. I hated growing pains when I was little. I was excited to be growing. I was really excited about that, but those suck. I told my biology professor in college, and he said, you know, TS women are sterile. I knew about infertility, but was shocked that he said that. Not the most sensitive way of saying that. And without knowing your numbers, you don't know that for sure. You don't know, well, you don't know what you're facing until you get those numbers. And I only say